All right, and welcome to Enigmatic Consciousness.
Hello,
I'm here.
motherfucker.
I'm here with Miss MJ,
That's
and
hi.
hi, and I'm Canada today, apparently.
Marijuana in Canada.
Marijuana in Canada.
Canadian bastard.
Anyways, so we're just gonna have a chat today about whatever we chat about.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
We tripped on shrooms last night. It was
We
my
did.
it was it was a ride.
Yes, we. So it was strange because I didn't actually plan on doing shrooms last night.
Until I said
And
something.
yeah, you did. And then I like thought about it and I'm like, I have today off from work
Uh-huh.
and my mom was house sitting for my sister, so I was like totally home alone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's really no better time to do that than being home alone and not having to get up the next day.
Oh my God, exactly. See, and it was the Lionsgate portal.
Yes.
And I mean, Sharon Tate anniversary today. God rest her soul. Like it was like so many things. It was like just kind of aligned.
Yeah, it just all kind of lined up. It was divine.
It was divine intervention. Binks is coming over here. He might want to say hello.
Hi, Binks.
Come here, Menzies. He'll make his way up, I guess. I don't know. Anywho, yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, how did that go for you last night?
It was really weird. It wasn't fun. Okay, so parts of it were, but like ugh, I just wasn't here. I wasn't gone like I usually like to be, because like I mean, obviously I was seeing the fragmentals and the geometry and the rainbows, which I love. That's half the fun. But I wasn't gone. I wasn't kind of like drifting through time and space like what I usually like to do. Because I feel like that's where the breakthroughs come in. And I don't know, because last time it was so awesome because it was like, I had my phone next to me playing, shroom music and then kind of like third eye music. And like there's this awesome Amerindian dude who's just like there. And it's kind of like, oh my God, he's like leading me through this. And I didn't, even though I like had some of the elements still going on, it wasn't the same. And I don't know if I mean, it's probably like a mixture of all sorts of things. Like, I'm going through a very big transitional part right now. Like, I'm starting practicum tomorrow um, with women who are leaving their abusive partners and trying to get them financially independent and to help heal and get them back on their feet as independent women. And there's this book, sorry, this is all going to come back, I promise. Um, and I'm also just reading this book that was recommended to me since I come from a background very similar to that. Um, so I'm just like in a really transitional kind of dealing with some heavy stuff, even though I feel kind of fine. I just don't like new shit. And it's kind of like, I usually like to have a quote last hurrah before a new semester starts or I'm starting something new. And so this is kind of it. And I wanted to let go, but I don't know if I just didn't take enough or um just kind of like that conversation I had right as I was tripping. It was just like this bitch. Like I don't know what the fuck is her deal on Instagram. It was just so weird. It was like it was kind of getting into my head, and then the whole Sean thing, kind of. It was my twin flame. It was just weird, and then sorry, this is really long winded. I'm so sorry. Um, I don't know. I feel like I just kind of got stuck because like while I was, have enjoying the pretty lights and stuff like that, I kept trying to let go, and it's like, I might get be a little bit pushed, but it was like it was kind of come and go and stuff like that. I didn't have that awesome experience. It was kind of like I'm really feeling the loneliness now because it was like, where is everybody? Because it was like a few weeks ago when I did it, it was like, wow, there's all these people here. Like my siblings were like messaging each other, which was a trip because like they were sending videos of their kids. It's just like, oh, all these people that I love. And it's like I'm traveling, and then, past life stuff was coming in, and it was like, this is really awesome. And it's like I'm making peace with my abusive ex, and I made peace with my twin flame. And it's just like, where the fuck is that now? And there was nothing. It was a bit of a letdown, but like, I mean, Lionsgate is there to help you heal and purge and stuff like that. So maybe that's what I really needed. Because, like, that's what I sent my attention with.
Yeah, I totally get that. And like I have to say, like last night, it was a lot of healing and letting go for me personally. And just
Yeah.
like I mentioned earlier before we recorded this, like I had never been so fucking high on
Mm-hmm.
shrooms before. And it was just mind blowing. Like it was absolutely just like I couldn't even comprehend how high I actually was at one point. And
Awesome.
I remember just like the anxiety came over and I was like, I kind of want this to end now. And then I was just like reminding myself, like, no, just, enjoy it. Let it be, let it cycle through. Like it's gonna be done in a couple hours. Like it's not something I need to like make a big deal out of. And then like after the trip, because I feel like you have like the really intense trip part, and then like afterwards I have the whole like purging, and I was literally just laying in my bed, like having this really intense out loud conversation with myself
Oh,
for
okay.
like a couple hours, and just like everything came out of me that just had like not come out of me yet.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I dealt with a lot of like twin flame shit came up there too.
Oh,
And
you do? Okay.
yeah, it came up really intensely, and it was
Yeah.
just kind of being able to let go of a lot of those hurt feelings, I guess, that come with that,
Mm-hmm.
and just accepting that it is what it is and there's nothing I can do about it. But um, I really had like a lot of realizations about how much I struggle with vulnerability with other people,
Mm-hmm.
and just like people around me, and just like realizing that there are certain people that I need to be more vulnerable with and have deep conversations with, and I need to stop kind of like making these barriers in my mind to stop myself from having these conversations with people, because I really do thrive on those deep conversations, but they also scare the hell out of me.
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what else? There was just like I had this realization that there was this girl I met like within the last month, um, at my job, and we probably talked for like an hour the day that I met her, and I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, she's just been on my mind, and I just really had this realization. I'm like, this person is like one of my fucking soulmates,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm probably going to meet them again. Like I don't really understand. Like I'm not used to feeling the deeper connection with people like that on that level,
Yeah.
and it was just so weird kind of experiencing that and thinking about that, and just kind of having that realization that there is that connection there. And it was just like I tend to like dismiss stuff like that out of fear mostly, because it's always like, I'm the type of person where like I won't give someone my phone number, because especially at work, because I'll like come up with a scenario in my mind that they're going to like file a complaint about me giving my phone number to them, and I'm going to get fired and end up homeless.
Oh God, no.
And I'm like, like I
No,
get
that's
not
yeah.
being that creepy dude who's just like handing his number out to random girls, but at the same time, like if you feel it genuinely, like
Right.
you should take that step. And
And I mean, you work in a spiritual shop, man.
yeah,
So don't know. Woo! Hello, Tonks.
Oh, hello,
Everybody's
Tonks.
here. Everybody's here to the party. Everybody's on the table. Naughty kitties. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it, but I don't know. You know, have you ever heard of Bumble? It's a dating app.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I get that they are trying to make it so that the girls, um, y'all gotta calm down. So that the girls are the ones who initiate, but it's like for me, that's not how I fucking roll. Like, I do not pursue a guy like that. I say that, but my God, like my Venus is in Leo. Like, what do you want me to do? And I'm a fucking Libra and I'm an Aries. So it's
The
like
lion pounces when she sees a piece of meat
I
that she
fucking
wants.
do. I fucking do. I and like I do this thing where it's like I'm peacocking and like and it's supposed to be the dude who peacocks. It's like shut my stuff. Look how awesome I am. Like don't you just want me sort of thing. It's ridiculous and so vapid, self-absorbed, whatever you want to call it, but oh my God. But basically it's like, hey, look how fucking awesome I am. Don't you want to hang out with me? Let's do this sort of a thing. But I don't want to give you my number. I want you to ask. I will not ask you out on a date. Like I want the man to do that. So why do I, a girl, and mind you, I'm kind of going back into gender roles in a way, but it's like I like being independent. But when it comes to dating and courting, no, be a fucking gentleman. Like do the fucking work. Like, and that's me. That's me. Like I don't want to do more of his job. Like I don't know. I'm not. If we're on a date, sorry, this is a rant now. If we're on a date, I'm not paying half. Like that's something that we do as friends. That's what you do with a roommate. Like, and that's what you do when you are in a relationship. But it's like the courting thing. And I used to be very against that until I had the realization of just like, oh, that you know what? I've asked guy friends about that. I've asked girlfriends about that. And it's just like, no, because they're trying to pursue you. Allow it. And I was in my masculine energy saying, no, we can split it. It's basically me in a way saying, hey, no, we're friends. This is a friend zone sort of a thing. You pay your half, I'll pay my half. You know, and I did that in a place of fear. So I don't know. I don't know if this like circles back. So sorry, but this is, yeah, that's my rant. That's where I'm at right now. If we're dating, you pursue me. Once we have that on lockdown, like, yeah, 50-50, you pay your half, I'll pay my half because we're a fucking team. Like we both hustle, we both get that money.
Well, and my thing with that too is even beyond that is to like take turns paying, right? Like treat each other once you're kind of
Yeah,
established there. Like even like
exactly.
it's just nice. It's like I don't even really like the splitting thing. Like I would just rather like somebody pay for the whole thing just because then it's like it's a gesture towards the other person. And
Mhm.
like I agree it needs to be balanced, not one-sided. And
Yeah.
you know, it's tricky because there's so much there about the gender roles, but at the same time, like I get it that guys can just be lazy, cheap pieces of shit.
Mhm.
And you want to know that a guy that you're into isn't a cheap, lazy piece of shit, right? Like you want to
Right.
know that they're willing to, because like the reality is, if just starting out, you're just going on a couple dates with somebody. Um, if they're kind of already in that mindset where they either want you to cater to them or you're splitting the bill, like it's all kind of downhill from there. Like
Mhm.
um, we always put the most effort into a relationship at the very beginning,
Yeah.
and it kind of goes downhill from there. So, like, if you know, and I kind of agree, like, both sides have to kind of give that 110%, but like,
Yeah.
it's in different ways.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to sound like a judgmental dick, but like, the more kind of
Power through it.
material the more kind of material things are more important to women than they are to men, and not in all cases but in oftentimes. So in terms of doing things like paying for meals or buying gifts, like it's
Ooh,
kind of one
see,
of those things.
I hadn't taken it to like gifts because I'm actually really weird about gifts because again it kind of comes from a place of fear. It's like I don't want you to think that I owe you anything because for me my um my love languages have always been time um favors slash words of affirmation. And it's like, I don't care what we're doing. Like, we could just, I mean, not everything has to cost money. Like, I love going on walks. I like going on walks around town, or let's go to a park, like whenever nobody's there, because I don't want to look like a chomo or anything like that. But just, you know, things that don't have to cost money. It's the time spent together, and, you know, one-on-one communication, like shared interests, like let's go do something I like, let's go do something you like, you know, and kind of going back to the teamwork thing. Like, I want that to be carried into the household chores. Like, if I cook dinner, I want you to do the dishes. If I do the laundry, you're gonna fold and put away. It's like we're both doing, you know, maybe one week you mow the lawn, I'll take out the trash, or vice versa. I think I said I'll do both. You know, alternate, you know? Um, because let's be real, like, I once had a conversation with a guy who was like, as long as, you know, my girlfriend or my wife scrubs the pots and pans and does the laundry, I'll do everything else. And it's kind of like, okay, so you're basically putting her in charge of the two things that literally never end. And it's like, I don't know. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. But then, like, when I was talking about it with my mom, she was like, well, hey, there's no time limit. Like, if you, just because you do the laundry one day, like, you put them in the wash, it's like, hey, maybe the next day I'll put them in the dryer. Or, hey, maybe the next day I'll iron. Or, you know, it's just like, God, I don't know. But dishes and laundry, they never fucking end.
No, they don't. I
Especially if you have a family. My God, get out of here. It's all you fucking do.
Well, and it's true. And I think, like, as much as we can kind of define all these things and look at it in certain ways, like, I think the most important parts that really come into this are genuinely feeling the connection with somebody. Because when
Yes.
you do, it comes more naturally to put the effort in, it doesn't feel so forced.
Mm-hmm.
And also
Thanks.
working on your own shit, because
Yes.
um when you're in a better place, like, you're not in a position where you're willing to argue over stupid shit like dishes or laundry. Like,
Right.
it's just that point of, and I'm not saying letting yourself be taken advantage of, but, like, if your partner asks you to do something,
Mhm.
instead of starting an argument about it, you know, just do it. Like, it's not hard to go out of your way for the other person. It's got to go both ways.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, like, and it really just comes back to the good old don't be a dick. Like, you know, don't be,
Yeah.
if you care about somebody, like, do what you have to do to show them that. And you know, it's just, I people are so lazy with relationships now because they want to feel great and have that, like, high stimulation, but it doesn't last forever. Like, it's about building a relationship on a personal level and not being so fixated on that, like, instant gratification we get with a lot of our kind of dating
Oh, there
system
you are.
now.
I
Yeah.
definitely agree, because we are a fucking society of people. You know that only half the population is securely attached. Like, the rest of the population either has a anxious, avoidant, or disorganized attachment, and that's basically why hookup culture fucking took off. Is because we weren't, it's going to sound really judgmental, and it's like, even, I mean, people even from the most loving, attentive families are going to, in some form or fashion, uh, um, everybody's going to have their childhood wounds. And I mean, that's just because, you know, when you're a child, you don't understand mom's leaving because she has to go to work. Dad's um you know, busy doing something. It's nothing against me, but right now everything in my consciousness is like, I need attention, I need you, I want to spend time with you. And it's like we don't have that understanding at that tender age. And it's nothing against anybody. You know, people are providing for their families. I mean, that's wonderful. So with that being said, imagine how it is for people who are not as well off and don't have the time, or they're struggling with, you know, injustices and discrimination and stuff like that, where it's a lot harder to be able to achieve that and give that to your kids because you are struggling so much personally. And um everybody, I want to believe everybody is trying that their best from their level of understanding and consciousness. You know, I'm an idealist. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling again. Sorry. But yeah, that's the birth of hookup culture, is like people, they want to have sex and they want to feel good, the instant gratification. But they, the second to that, oh, feelings, you got to fucking bail. And that's not healthy for either one.
Well, yeah, and it stems a lot from like that we have such a fear of pain and abandonment, and just like we hold back so much just because we don't want to re-experience that feeling of like when mom left for work and we were really upset and she just was kind of like, okay, I need to go. um and like that reflects in our relationship, our romantic relationships. And something that absolutely drives me nuts is the whole like friends with benefits thing, because like in so many instances, like for a lot of people that doesn't work. Like, and I know so many people who just like they don't want to commit to anybody and they just want to do that, but then like it's a defense mechanism for them. But then the people that
Hmm.
they're with start getting overly attached, and then they're kind of giving their power away to those
Because
people.
that's because avoidantly attached people are naturally drawn to the anxiously attached, and vice versa, because they are fulfilling each other's patterns that they are familiar with. It's a it's repeating the same connections that they had with whichever parent that they had the more difficult relationship with. So people with avoidant issues, they're like, no, I'm self-sustained because my parents, I couldn't rely on them for whatever reason. So no, like, and they want intimacy and they want to have a relationship, but the second that it starts to go in their way, go that way, it's like they're freaking out. And it's kind of like they prefer the idea of it rather than actually having it. It's too difficult. And then for anxiously attached, I'm more anxiously attached, but I have a heavy avoidance thing also. So for me, it's like, I guess that's kind of why, in a way, it's like I'm what of a chaser, because it's like, hey, let me show you my worth. Like, hey, let me show you what I can do for you. Like, but the second that they start to take interest in me, it's kind of like, wait, what the fuck are you doing here? That's not the role that we do. What's your angle here, buddy? And I get really defensive. And so, I mean, and that's why it's so important to fucking understand yourself, fucking do the inner work, fucking heal yourself before you even be happy with who you are, and be at peace with your experiences as best as you can before you even think of like getting married, having kids, shit like that, buddy. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah, and like
Uh,
I relate to a lot of that, and a lot of that came up last night too, where like I just, from what I remember, it was a very long ranty conversation I had with myself. But
okay, it's okay. I was having like a 20-minute one by my onesies here.
um but I just like got to this point where I was like, I'm extremely uncomfortable with myself. I really like in a physical form, like I don't like myself. I'm not comfortable with myself. And I avoid um connections with people because of like a lot of that. Like it's just this whole like I feel like I need to give and not receive anything back.
Hmm.
And I also like when people start trying to get close, like I love the idea of relationships and intimacy in that, but then like when it actually starts happening,
Hmm.
um this like wall,
Start to
energy wall,
freeze.
just goes up and just cuts it off. Like it's um and I am very aware of it. I guess that's half the
Hmm.
battle, but it's still like it's one of those things. I think I feel like it would be easier if I could see it coming.
Hmm.
Like, you know, if someone said to me, like, I somehow could know, like, this voice in my head said, you know, next Tuesday at 5 p.m.,
Hmm.
this woman's going to approach you and there's going to be a connection there and you need to be prepared for that. Because my biggest thing is I always feel like caught off guard when it does happen.
Hmm.
And because I'm caught off guard, I just go with whatever I instinctively do, which is to shut down instead of,
Really?
and then I can kind of sit there after and be like, damn, I really should have done something in that instance, but I was too chicken shit to do it and I froze up. Like,
See, I think my Libra ass is just like, oh yeah, let's go do this. Like, let's go. I don't know. But it's also the fear of like, oh my God, you could be like a psycho stalker and I'm going to end up dead in a parking lot in a dumpster or something like that. I don't know. We're going to have to post with this whenever you post it on YouTube, like the any number one of the attachment quizzes out there because I'm very curious. And also, there's books out there about how to go about healing those attachment wounds and stuff like that. And I always tell people if you're going down the healing journey, start with there. Start there. Like, I feel like, because, you know, in a lot of my trauma therapy sessions, we talk about childhood and how it kind of led up to my relationship issues and why I am attracted to abusive men and why they are attracted to me. And it's kind of like, okay, so if I fix this, then that can be a warning sign. It's like I'm drawn to this person, take a step back, analyze, you know, and don't don't pursue it. Like, you know, just being more aware of what I'm drawn to in people, you know? I don't know. Does that make sense?
yeah.
That way it doesn't continue repeating a vicious cycle of horrible relationships.
Well, and like that was kind of the crossroads I reached with myself was like spending almost a year in a really horrible relationship and just being like, I don't want this. Like, I want to be able to feel good in a relationship. Like, I don't just need to settle for whatever um, comes into my life, right?
Hmm.
So it was a lot of struggle with that because, like, it comes from that self worth. So, that's part of it for me too, is just, yeah, like just making sure that I don't put myself in that situation and being aware of when those situations are coming up because like it's if those people are still kind of coming into my life and pursuing me, then it just means that like I still have to deal with my shit more before I can actually have a proper relationship with somebody.
Right, exactly. I've been pretty lucky, I guess you could say, because since my most recent ex, which is like 3 years ago, and I broke up, I haven't had a whole lot of people trying to really do much with me. And I'm just taking that as a sign, as like, good, I'm having, you know, I'm getting my shit in order. I'm getting, you know, going through school. Because, you know, I had graduated with my bachelor's in psych last year, and it's like awesome. So now I'm in the master's program for social work, and it's just like I don't think, as much as I would love to have a relationship right now, it's like, could I handle that? Like, because I try to put so much of my all into relationships to like care for and nurture and make them feel safe and secure. And, basically, I really put, I really get in touch with my femininity. And like, I don't know, it's so scary because I'm so masculine. um, I don't know. Where was I going with this? I don't know.
Well, and like part of it too, though, is kind of finding that balance with the feminine and the masculine, because
Yes.
the feminine energy is very much giving,
Mhm.
and that masculine energy is the receiving part of it. So, in a way, like you maybe struggle a little bit with your masculine energy too, in terms of receiving from other people, because you want to give and
Exactly.
give and give.
Yes.
And again,
That's where I'm at. That's why it's kind of like, no, I don't know. I feel like it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it's like if I'm dating a person and they are pursuing me, it's like, no, I need to be treated as and see, it sounds so weird coming out of my mouth because I still struggle saying it, but it's like, no, you are approaching me, you treat me, sort of a thing. Allowing that it's okay to be it's okay to be given a gift. Am I uncomfortable with it? Yes. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, oh my gosh, thank you for thinking of me. And I say that about everything. Like my mom is a gifter. So is my dad. And like it doesn't put me off when they do it because it's like, oh my gosh, thank you for thinking of me. You took time out of your day, you saw this and you thought of me. It's always the thought that it really is, as cliche as it is, it's the thought that counts. Because you don't have to do that. You didn't have to put money on me. Because like I said, all I want is your time. Like I like spending time, and yeah, that's my number one thing. Like, we don't even have to do anything expensive. Like, kind of like going back to that thing, I don't need expensive stuff. Like,
well, and
I
it
can't.
just really comes back to, like you said, like you feel like you don't want to feel like you owe somebody, and
Mhm.
if somebody's kind of giving you something and expecting something in return, like that's not healthy. But a lot of people can be like that, especially guys, where like they think that because they give material stuff that they should receive um something in return, whether it's, and they'll like hold it
Yes,
against women too. And I mean, women do this to guys too. I shouldn't make it sound that one-sided, but like,
I'm sure there is. I'm sure
they
there are.
when you're sitting there keeping a tally with somebody about, well, I did this and this,
Hmm.
um that's, it's toxic. Like
Yes,
it's
it's
not
not
good. Like
simple.
we shouldn't be keeping a score sheet with people we care about who did what. Like it should just always kind of be that supporting each other and putting in the effort for each other. And um like you said, it is the thought. It's I saw this and I thought of you, so I got it for you, and it's not really
Mhm.
for any reason.
Yeah.
um and that's how you know it's genuine too, because like I struggle a lot with, like, especially because of like where I work, because a lot of men come in looking for gifts for their wives and girlfriends and that, and like they have no idea what to get.
Hmm.
And to me it's just like, because like I'm really attentive like that, where like I'll kind of like keep in mind some interests or things that they like. So like I don't really
Yeah.
have a hard time buying gifts for women that I really care about, because I don't need to think too much about it. Like I can find something and be like, "Oh, this would be great for this person."
Hmm.
Um and then like I think a lot of that is just that like emotional detachment that men have, um where like for whatever reason like we're basically taught to just like not feel emotions, so like we kind of just disregard things on a lot of personal levels,
Mhm.
because like it it would be, you're not manly if you got in touch with your emotions and you did something genuinely that for someone that you cared about, kind of thing. Like it's bizarre, like
Bullshit.
it's absolutely bizarre and crazy to me, but I don't know. I just think it's like, even for me too, like I've often get accused of being gay because of
Really?
like how in touch with my emotions I am. Yeah. Um and it's just like it, my sexual orientation has nothing to do with my emotional connectedness to myself, like, or
Right.
anybody else. But it's like that's kind of the shame that comes with that, where like if a guy is in touch with his emotions, well, he must be gay because a real man wouldn't do that, kind of thing.
Real man.
Quote
Let's,
unquote real
uh,
man.
yes. Fucking betas. It's always the fucking betas, and I hate how warped our entire Western culture has fucked alphas and betas and whatever the hell gammas are. I have no idea. But like, they have it thinking that, a bitch like Trump is an alpha because he says it, he tells it like it is, and he doesn't take no for an answer, and he's so aggressive and stuff like that. That dude is the biggest fucking beta bitch I have ever seen. Because, okay, let me tell you something. Here's my third rant of the day. Alphas are pack builders. They want to build and empower their packs. Trump is a bitch because he divides. He wants to divide so that everybody is in chaos and in discourse so that he can kind of, oh my God, it's fucking bullshit. Also, betas are misogynists. Um, Alphas, they're not threatened by female empowerment. It's not, oh, you're getting too strong over here. Gotta smack my bitch up or whatever. That's not it. It's like, hey, awesome. Again, pack building, growth, empowerment. My God, it's so stupid. I could go on, but I think I've made my point. Like, that's really all it comes down to. Betas are pack dividers, alphas are pack builders. And
Well, and like that's it really, is like we should be trying to build each other up and not
yes.
like there's no reason why, like I just find it bizarre how like I meet so many people who like have this idea in their mind that there's certain people who deserve to be like put down because of
Yeah.
who they are or the way they are. Like we all just want to feel loved and accepted, and we all struggle with ourselves to some degree.
Hmm.
Um, so, just because someone doesn't fit our idea of who they should be doesn't mean that like we need to basically say that they're worthless because they're not willing to change into who we want them to be.
Right. And also, we have to individualize people's growth. Like, one person's healthy is, let me think, one person's unhealthy. How do I want to say this? Everybody is on you know what? Let me let me think on it before I try to say it, because it's gonna come out really weird and I don't want to say something wrong. Like,
Yeah, but like even just to relate this back to an example, um we were talking a while ago about like the whole woke shaming, and just like I don't know, I don't get it. Like, yeah, so the example I brought up was the woke shaming that
yes.
comes from a lot of the spiritual community, quote unquote spiritual community.
Hmm.
Um and like I just feel like that's a really good example for what we were talking about, because there's they really don't like us talking about them, I don't think.
Well, I'll pull up that post that I had posted yesterday. Oh my God, fucking
Yeah,
assholes.
Yeah, so like basically it just comes from where like people have their own opinions and we're all at our own stages, and then there's this really egotistical side of it where people have this kind of mold that you need to fit into to fit their definition of being as enlightened as they are.
Yes.
And there's a lot of shaming that goes around with that because it's like the moment um, you don't agree with them on something, it's that they're right and you're wrong, and they're more enlightened than you are, and you know you're a village idiot, and you deserve to be stoned to death because you're worthless because your opinions aren't the same as theirs.
Exactly. Like that fucking bitch, Geo Neo or whatever, who was like telling me that, like, oh my God, what did he say? It was something along the lines of, you're not woke at all. Like, because I was having compassion for people at different levels of their understanding of what's going on with the pandemic, plandemic, whatever you want to call it. Um, you know, which communities are the most vulnerable to it. Because, I mean, I don't, God, okay, well, I will just read the thing that I posted yesterday. And it's a quote by Roxana Safdia. Hope I said that right. As spiritual as the love and light people seem to be, they are the first ones to attack and say hateful things to others. I thought you all believed in putting good vibes out and getting good vibes back. How come you're the first ones feeling extremely triggered and acting your rage out in a condescending, trolling way? I'll tell you why. Because your entitled superiority and narcissism lays in your subconscious. You're focused on good vibes and you should be focused on root causes. And I was just like, oh my God, fucking preach. Like, Geo Neo had said that he had done his healing. Like, he has done it all. I'm just like, motherfucker, maybe that's your reality. But for me, it happens in a spiral. Like, I keep coming back to the same shit with different views, different understandings. And it's just like, oh, okay, you know, whatever. And then I'll spiral out like a fucking Tool song. Like, that's
Well,
been my experience.
and my thing with it is that like you're never done growing,
Never
you're never
done.
done healing, and people have an intense experience and they cling to it like it's the end all experience, and they become extremely stagnant
Yeah.
um energetically and with themselves and their beliefs, and like it's difficult because our belief systems are important to us and it basically shapes our identity to some degree, but
Hmm.
like we need to be able to be fluid with that too and be able to adapt our belief systems with new information that we get as we
For
continue to
sure.
grow. So if you go, you know, this is my belief system, it's set in stone, um you're stagnant, you're never going to be able to grow because it's just so like one track mind kind of
Hmm.
mentality that you develop when you stay like that too long.
It is, and it's fucking gross. And like it just reminds me entirely too much of, you know, those really, sorry, we're in the West, so we have to deal with a lot of Christians and churches, you know, apply it to wherever you're listening to this from. But, you know, in we deal with a lot of really judgmental ass Christians here, and fucking Westboro Baptist Church. God, fucking fuck them. Oh my God. Like all these people that are just like so rooted towards aiming their spirituality at hating certain demographics of people. It's stupid. And it's like, how is that enlightened? Because I was taught that God is love. And like, I don't know about you, but like one of my most profound spiritual experiences, my mom actually bore witness to it because she was right next to me when it happened. We were at that conference that I was at 3 years ago for IANDS, IANDS, if anybody wants to look that up. Same organization I told you about yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, it's about near-death experiences, paranormal, people who are spiritually gifted, like coming together from different fields, like in psychology, neurobiology, nurses, doctors, everywhere, coming together and saying, you know what, there is more to our consciousness than what we have been told, and we need to push funding so that we can more accurately research it and get people on board, because consciousness is not just in the brain. Like, that's your brain. Consciousness is spiritual. So anywho, so that little thingamajiggy. Um, we were in a meditation, and oh my God, I remember it distinctly. Like, I was basically in a meadow, and there was this house sort of a thing that I was in, and long story short, um, it was like I was seeing the auras of all these people that loved me, like on this side, on the other side. It's kind of like a team of basically my posse, I guess you could say. And like my, and I don't mean this in any like culture appropriation way. I do know I have a spirit animal. Like, it comes to me in dreams, has for years. And I'm Native American, so um, and my tiger was there, and I was just overflowing with love, and it was like I was beaming and I was crying. I had tears like streaming down my face because it was such pure unconditional love. And I what my mom had said afterward, MJ's not here, MJ's somewhere else. And yeah, and it's like that to me was God. um because, you know, if there's anything in the Bible that I believe is, or, you know, omnism and stuff like that, is that God is love. And I think it's really incredibly fucking selfish and um just despicable to create God to hate the same people that you do, you know. That's completely morphed and warped and shit.
Yeah, and like I totally 100% believe, like I just had this kind of realization at some point that we're all extensions of this same light that we can call God or creation or whatever, and that we're learning so that God can learn. Like, basically, we're extensions of that energy so that God can experience things through us.
Hmm.
Um, and that, you know, we take all that and, but I think, like, I kind of had this thought at some point too that, like, as much as we are that light, we also adopt our own kind of spiritual identity too. So, like, as much as
Hmm.
we're an extension of that, I think this whole living process is also so we can become individuals, because I feel like this light of creation, this God created everything because it didn't want to be alone
Hmm.
in the universe. And
Yeah.
so it started creating things so that it had company, and it had could manifest its visions into whatever it saw fit.
Hmm.
And, you know, like, it's, I just don't really believe that there's any hatred there, that there's any judgment there. And, like, I think, like, that's part of the living experience, is to experience that.
Hmm.
um because, like, the whole range of emotions, like, we need to experience them all in order to grow from them. So whether it's jealousy, sadness, envy, envy and jealousy are the same thing. I don't know where I'm going with that,
I
but
think they're a little bit different, just in my opinion, but like, yeah, you're good.
they're connected. I'm just like, I had both in my head, and I'm like, say one. I'm like, no, say both. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, just that whole spectrum of emotions, like, they're all meant to be experienced and learned from. And I think, like, as beings that exist in this world, like, we take everything so seriously. um, to a point that like we're trying so hard to be something instead of just letting ourselves be what we are.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I had somewhere else I was going to go with that, and I totally forget now, but
Fine.
it'll come back to me.
That was kind of in my trip last night also because, you know, the not last night, but the time before when I was streaming by myself, like I could be on social media and it wasn't bothering me because it's like, ooh, more rainbows, yay. And it's kind of like explaining everywhere else. So that was fun. Last night was not the place because I, some of that stuff that I had been dealing with earlier in the day or, the past couple weeks with like the book that I'm reading and stuff like that, it's really heavy. Um, and as twin flames, we do trigger each other. And I don't know, because I always peep who's looking at my stories just out of curiosity, and it's just a habit. I don't know, but it I don't know how I feel about my twin flame, like consistently reading my shit and not talking to me. That bothers me because I don't know, for whatever reason, it bothers me. But like it kind of, and then also it was just kind of like, man, when I was posting this stuff, like, a lot of it was, hey, I hope this helps somebody, like with the abuse pages and in the books and stuff like that. Because it's like if I had that information accessible to me back when I was in those relationships, I think I could have gotten out sooner. And it was talking about just stuff that could help people escaping abuse and stuff like that. So, but like, I don't know. I guess it kind of goes back to vulnerability because there is an element of you're seeing me on social media, but you interpret it however you want. I don't post a whole lot of this is exactly what's going on in my life right now. This is exactly what I'm dealing with. It's not, and if I have that, it's kind of like after the effect. And it's kind of like, dude, I'm kind of coming out of this. And it's just kind of like, can anybody else relate? Like, it's looking for connections with people because I like having that connection, and it helps me kind of feel validated, but also so that I can help you, like pour into me a little bit so I can pour into you. Like let's bond over this. You know what I mean? Kind of make sense of what's going on.
Yeah,
It's not to, ooh, look at me. I'm just posting my drama everywhere so people can like it.
give
I'm
me
not
attention and love me.
exactly. Fuck you. There's a
Well,
difference between being a cold-blooded. Have we talked about cold-blooded animal? Oh, we did on the
we
practice round.
we did in the practice room, but
Yeah.
I was actually hoping that come up again in this one. So yeah, we can definitely go ahead and explain that.
Okay, so as Shallon Lester, I love to listen to her explain. Cold-blooded animals are the people who, much like in nature, they need their environment to warm them up. They can't self-regulate, so they are completely dependent on others, on other elements to keep them alive, basically. Read with humans, that's attention or validation. Likes, value, basically. So that's basically Kylie Jenner. So for example, she's done all these enhancements because she was never okay with herself. She was always been insecure. Um, there's like not 1% of her that hasn't been touched, and that's okay. That's her journey. That's her body. She can do whatever want. I'm not shaming her. I'm just giving an example. It is what it is. Um, However, and I hope she comes out of it. We want to be Rihanna. Rihanna is a badass bitch. She is completely, no, you're not going to do that to me. Like, and it's kind of like, oh, you like me, you're giving me compliments, like, thank you. It's not necessary, thank you, because she is a warm-blooded animal. She regulates herself. She is a boss ass bitch. She is in control. Like, All hail Rihanna. We all want to be Rihanna.
All hail Rihanna.
All hail fucking Rihanna. We want to be her. She's awesome. Like we want to be empowered, and it's like you're complimenting me. That's awesome. I enjoy it. But I can do that myself. You know what I mean? I'm warm from the inside. I'm glowing, you know? We want to do that.
Yeah, and it's all about that kind of, I don't like that phrase about like you have to love yourself. Like for some people that's just too intense, and it's like it's
Loving your
more
state.
accepting yourself though. Like I mean that is love. I think it's just because the word love as is so like overblown in our society. So it's like, when
Spirit. Yeah.
people hear the word love, they think of like this really intense, like romantic kind of love that they need to have for themselves, and it's
I
not the
kind of do have
case.
that for myself.
Well, and that's fine. But like for
Oh my God.
people who struggle with that, like it's more about just being content with
Yeah.
yourself. Like definitely don't hate yourself. I don't
Oh
even
God, no.
fathom, and I mean I can
But I
fathom
used
because
to.
I used to, me
I
too.
used to hate myself.
And I had a moment, I think this was even before my awakening, but I had read or watched something that the Dalai Lama was doing one of his public appearances, and somebody asked him what his thoughts on self-hatred were,
Hmm.
and he didn't know what they were talking about,
Hmm.
which makes sense because that shouldn't even be a concept.
It really shouldn't.
Like we should not, like, I don't, where did that even come, where did that phrase come from? Like who thought of that shit?
I don't
Because
know.
um you know, if everybody else in the world fucking hates you, you definitely still shouldn't hate yourself. Like if there's one person who's gonna be in your corner, it's gonna
It's
fucking be
gotta be
you.
you.
And don't expect anyone else to be. If anyone else is good, let them be there, but don't fucking expect anybody to be. Just be in your own damn corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, be fucking Mike Tyson in the fight and be Mike Tyson's coach standing on the side of the ring, fucking telling him to beat the shit out of the other dude.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, I love that analogy.
be that.
Yes.
Be both of those people at the same time for yourself.
Your biggest cheerleader. But also kind of going back to Rihanna because like, you know, with her most recent ex or something like that, she gained a lot of weight. And I guess people were like calling her out on it. And she's like, why is this a negative thing? Like, I love my body in whatever phase it's going through, and I like to dress for my body type in whatever it's doing, you know? And it's just kind of like because we are incredibly insecure as West, I feel like we're way more insecure in Western society than anywhere else because we are super pushed to be, conditioned to be. It's literally spewing out everywhere. But I mean, hearing that is just so empowering. Um, Especially from a woman to say that, like, be Rihanna.
It's true though, and like honestly, like I can admit I gained so much fucking weight over this quarantine.
Mhm.
And like I'm not necessarily happy with myself, but I just had this moment where I'm just like, it is what it is.
Yeah,
And
but
you
we
know,
all did. We all
fuck it.
gained, yeah, we all gained different amounts of weight in quarantine. Like, I mean, I I'm not even gonna say how much I gained because it's gonna seem so much smaller than what other people did. But I'm a small framed individual. I feel like it shows up faster on me. But like, I don't know that. I think that's just my self perception. But like, I don't know. But I kind of struggled with it a little bit. But it's kind of like it is what it is. I mean, I'm in this, but so is everybody else. It's okay. I'm not gonna die from shame. I'm not gonna die from embarrassment. I don't know where I'm going with
Well,
that.
and yeah, and I mean there's always that moment where like you put a shirt on
Yeah.
and you look down and you can just see that it was loose before and it's no longer loose around your stomach, and you're kind of just like
For me,
it
it was
it
my
it,
pants.
it makes you insecure. Yeah, you go to put your pant.
I
I
bend over and my pants try to unzip a bit. I'm just like, when the fuck did that start happening?
okay, well, I had a moment where like I think it was kind of like a couple weeks before I went back to work, but I had like I don't know, I hadn't worn my jeans in like a
I'm
few
like,
weeks, and I
right? Why
went to
would you?
well, yeah, and I went to fucking put them on, and I could not get them up past my thighs.
Oh, really?
And like I was just like, wow, like I need to do something because I refuse to go out and buy a new pair of pants
Yeah.
because I've let myself go so much.
Yeah.
And like for me, like it is the self-conscious thing when you see those changes in your body, but like
Yeah.
for me, it's like you put a shirt on that fit comfortably, and I don't like tight clothing either. But then
Mhm.
like I put it on and I look down and I can literally see it's like boobs
Oh
and
my
then
God.
gut, and you're just like, what the fuck happened? Like where did these boobs come from? But it, it
For
is
me,
what
it's
it
like, hey, I gained some. I mean, I'm not hating it, but I mean, I don't know. That's difference in bodies. I'm supposed to have boobs, I guess. But
well
you know what? We're humans. We all have nipples. Why shouldn't we all have boobs?
well yeah, sure.
Oh my God. You know, I read something today that your nipples are older than your teeth.
I wasn't expecting that, but okay.
I
That
wasn't either.
that
I
that
refuse
makes
to
that makes
I
sense actually.
refuse to be alone knowing that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I feel like your teeth are kind of like one of the last things to form,
Mhm.
and they kind of like grow inside of you. Um, where like you have nipples long before you come out of the womb, but like your
It's
teeth
true.
kind of like grow in. So
They do. They do. I don't know. So there's
this
that.
is I don't even
Where
know
do
where
we
to
go from
go with
here?
that now because I'm just like I that caught me off guard. I want to talk about people saying things that catch me off guard. That was definitely
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. It's what I excel at.
but yeah, just and this whole kind of I know we're kind of going with this enigmatic consciousness. In all honesty, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how far this is gonna go. I just want to have some good conversations with people and shit.
Okay, so that was part of my trip last night was um I was freaking out because I was shrooming and I was on social media. Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. Every trip is different. But last night it turned on me. Because I started to freak out like all of people's like perceptions and judgments of me. And at one point it was kind of like, why the fuck should I care? Because like, yeah, I have my ducks in a row in a couple areas of my life, and in a few others it's like I'm a squirrel crossing a street, batshit. And I was like, you know what, if every single person that I know that I have been talking to lately, like, it's the same for them. And you know, that's the whole point, I think, is because nobody for a long period of time anyway has their shit in every category together. Like, that's not what being human is about. And we're sprinkles of God experience having a human experience. Like, what would be the point if we all had everything together at the same time for decades? What would we learn? What would we grow? How would we?
Well, and the whole thing is too, the concept of having your shit together is really non-existent because that's just fitting um some guidelines that society sets for us. Like in all reality, um nobody ever has their shit together. Like the reality is, and like a lot of people are struggling with this because of COVID, but I realized this long before COVID, is that nothing is certain. Like there's no such thing as safety there's no such thing as having rights. Like anything can happen at any moment. Like a freaking rock can just drop out of the sky and kill you at any given moment. And like that's the reality of existing, is that we just exist until we don't.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's illness or a body breaks down or some freak accident happens or whatever it
Spontaneous
is,
combustion.
well, and that's it. Like, could you imagine just like you're sitting in a chair one night in the middle of the night and then just boom, your whole body
I'm
just goes up in flames from the inside out
guts
and you're dead.
everywhere.
But,
Yeah.
so it's insane. And so many people are struggling right now with COVID and like all this uncertainty. Um, it's always been, it was like this
When
before
did we ever
COVID. It,
have
it was,
certainty?
we never
Yeah.
did. Nothing is
Yeah.
guaranteed. The only thing that's guaranteed is that nothing's guaranteed, and that you currently
Death in
exist
practice.
right now and you're not going to exist at some point.
Hmm. So true. Man, my idealistic side is just like thinking, what the fuck is the point? God, that was way too nihilistic for me.
I know, but like I have that
And
too,
we're
and like
together.
it is, it's like it's so, like it's our perception of what pointless is,
Hmm.
because we feel this need to have purpose.
Yeah.
Like we need
So,
a
meaning and
reason to wake up every day. We need a reason to exist, especially in Western culture. Like we're not accepting of the fact that we just exist and we're here. And it's like we, a lot of people, and this comes back to your relationship with yourself, that they can't cope with the idea that everything is just totally fucking pointless and just happening.
everything.
And I mean, there's paradox in everything, so it's purposeful and pointless all at the same time.
Hmm. Hmm.
It,
That's true.
it is what it is. Like,
Yeah. I have no rebuttal because yes, that's true. Like I I rather embrace the what's that meme is just like it depends on your perception. It's like nobody gives a shit versus nobody gives a shit. Like
yeah,
and I I
exactly.
I totally bounce back between those two more so than nobody gives a shit because I'm an excited person most of the time. Um, but yeah, I don't really have anything to contribute for that because I agree. Truth.
Yeah, and it's just, I really believe in embracing connections, but not attachment. Like
Yes.
let let the connections flow through you, let yourself feel them, let yourself have them, um and embrace that, but don't get attached to them. Like, like me and you were talking and doing this now, and like we've been talking off and on for a couple of years,
Yeah.
um and there's
Oh,
been times
crazy.
where I don't talk to you for like 6 months, and then we talk every day for like a month straight.
I don't think we've ever made it 6 months, maybe 1 month, maybe a couple.
I don't know. We've had some like stints where like we've gone quite a while though, like where it's definitely been at least a few months. And
Really?
it's just like we kind of just reconnect
Doing.
with each other when we're feeling it. But we don't
Yeah.
realize it because it's not something like neither one of us is consciously sitting here going, "Man, like I really wish, I'm not sitting here going, I really wish MJ would message me. Like, I feel so left out. I feel like I don't matter to her."
Same. That has never occurred to me because
And
it
we,
goes both ways. If I'm not talking to you, guess what, bitch?
I've just always embraced that. Like, when I feel connected to your energy and we're really on the same wavelength, then
Mhm.
we talk a lot. And then when we're kind of not on that same wavelength, we don't. Like, we're off dealing with our own shit. And I kind of like that we can kind of go and experience things without having that like super intense attachment, and then you know, we come back to each other after a while and kind of share what we learned in that period away from each other, and kind of like, for me, it's been interesting the last couple years just seeing like how much you've grown and developed
Same with you.
on a lot of like on so many levels, because like you're, I would honestly say like you're like a totally different person from when I met you a couple years ago.
Well, thank you, because I super cringe looking back at any version of my old selves. And I think that's like what everybody does. At least I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but same with you, man. Same with you. Like, I was about to say you used to be a really big asshole, but I mean, but who I am too.
I'm I'm still a really big asshole. I think I've just been kind of like humbled a little bit, because I know, especially when I started out on Instagram, and like it was just so much growth happened in such a short period of time for me.
Mhm,
And it did go to my head, and I was very aware that it went to my head.
mhm.
And you know, it was just being aware of that that made me be like, you know, I don't need to fix people. I don't need to tell people that they're
I
right or wrong. I don't need to tell them how to live their lives. Everybody's doing their own fucking thing.
mhm.
um and I can share my insights, I can share my experiences with people, and if it resonates with them and they can take something away from it and I help them, great. But I don't need to shove it down their throat and expect
Right,
them to take it and be transformed, because if they're not ready to transform, it's not going to make a difference. It doesn't matter.
right. I think that kind of goes back to like these people, these woke people who like claim that it's their whole entire life's mission to and job to wake people up. And they're I don't want to completely dismiss that because I don't know, and who am I to say one way or another, but I'm going to apply this to a therapeutic sense because that's my background. Like, if you have a client who comes in and you basically on day 5 or whatever of your meeting basically summarize, so you know what your problem is, you do this and this and this and this, and this stems from this and this and this. Am I logging out?
It was for like a split second.
Okay. So that's going to be one, really overwhelming, and two, it robs them of their own self discovery. They are leaning on you to tell them about themselves. It robs them from that empowerment of self discovery, self reflection. It robs them of their empowerment. And also, people have their own divine interventions, they have their own divine timing, they have their own karmic cycles that they need to experience, and you might be interrupting that. Like, for me, with an Aries moon, that is really my urge, and that's my gut instinct, is to like just spew whatever the fuck comes out of my pretty little mouth. And I have to kick that urge, because just because I feel it doesn't your job to take on their issues as your own. Am I still glitching?
Yeah, a little bit. You're okay.
Okay. Like, yeah, so it's not your job to fix people. It's not your job to do any more work than what the client or the unwoke person in this case is doing for themselves. You know, did that come out right?
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
for me, like I'm kind of going through my own growth with this. Like it is a lot of growing pains when it comes to helping people with kind of getting more in touch with yourself and learning to kind of step back from your own personal opinions and your own personal thoughts and trying to tap into your intuition, because when you can do that, um, when you meet people who you can be a benefit to and who resonate with your energy, you can kind of say what they need without bombarding them with what they don't, and not
Right.
throwing, you know, slapping them in the face with your own ego kind of thing.
I'm a big believer in saying, if this resonates, think on it, marinate on it. If it doesn't, chuck it. Like, I'm not trying to, I don't know, I'm just trying to love you from where you're at and be with you in that moment and love you from there. Like, it's really all we need to do. Just allow people room to grow for themselves and have their own realizations and talk it out. Talking really helps.
Yeah, and I just really encourage people to like get in touch with their creativity and to trust themselves and just go with whatever feels right for them and not to feel like they need to compartmentalize themselves into any one thing. Like, you don't have to be a witch or a Wiccan, you don't have to be a Buddhist, you don't have to be a Christian. Like, learn as much as you can and take what resonates with you and just be true to yourself. Like, there's no need to feel any guilt or shame for not fitting in with any one specific thing,
Hmm.
because there's something to be learned from all of them, really.
For sure.
And that's kind of like where I'm struggling with a lot of the spirituality now, because I feel like 50 years from now, like, spirituality is going to be the new Christianity, where there's going to be a bunch of churches, there's going to be the oh, what do you call them, the holier than thous, and
Hmm.
all these constructs that you need to be this way or feel this way to fit in with this group of people. And that's kind of what I don't like about the direction that a lot of the spiritual community is kind of
Yeah.
taking at this point.
Yeah. Definitely. We left religion to escape those people, and now they're just like leashing over here. But you know what? I guess that not that not that we're prophets or anything like that. Like, if you look at most prophets, whether it's Gandhi or Jesus, did Buddha? I forget. Moses, but like all these dudes, like they went out on their own and spent a lot of time on their own to reflect. And then they came back and were just like, hey, buddy, this is what I learned. Like, we don't have to be in groups and have groupthink all the time.
Well, it's an egotistical thing too, because we all want to feel important, we all want to feel special, and people get this idea in their head that they can be put on a pedestal by everybody else and that they can be everybody's new savior and whatever else. Like, I feel like there's a lot of that kind of going on with a lot of the people in the spiritual community, that
That goes
they
back to the drama triangle. Like,
well, well, and it is, and it's like they want to control people because they're insecure and unhappy with themselves, so they're trying to be this person that everybody's going to love. And um like, I went through that with myself a few years ago, where like really got this idea in my mind that I could be this person that everybody looked up to, and then I kind of got to a point where I actually had someone who started calling me their guru, and I was just like, fuck this shit. Like,
yeah,
I'm not anyone's fucking, like, I don't know anything, I don't claim to be anything, I'm just a
yeah,
fucking dude who's experienced a bunch of shit, who's open to experiencing a bunch of shit, and I just like having good wholesome conversations with people and helping them kind of maybe open their mind a little bit to things.
same
But
Z.
I'm not, uh you know I'm a teacher, but not in the sense of like the, I guess,
The teacher.
the teacher. I'm not the
The
teacher.
teacher. The
I'm not.
teacher.
I'm
And
not.
because every single one of us is both a teacher and a student for somebody, and it always changes.
Yeah, and like I was pondering this last night too, because I got I don't really want to get into all the details of it, but like the one thing that came up for me was with like how we're all teachers for each other, and I feel like a lot of people struggle with their children because there's this absence of the idea that our children can be our teachers. And
Mhm.
our children basically manifest everything we don't like about ourselves, and they reflect it back on us, and we basically refuse to learn anything from it. And I think that's why we see such a strain between like parent-child relationships sometimes,
Hmm.
um because the parents really stuck in like, I'm here to teach you, I'm here to guide you.
My
And
age is makes me the person in charge here, or
yes,
my degree makes me the person in charge here. My white coat, is bullshit.
and yeah, and it's just a lack of open-mindedness, right? Like, it's, you should be open to learning from everyone, because you know children can either be extremely frustrating, or it can be the most rewarding thing that we do,
Hmm.
depending on how our perception of it is.
That's really interesting that you say that because that link that I sent you yesterday about Sandra Champlain
Yeah.
and okay, so I'm in this 4-week course that happens every Thursday, where they help because it's her and this couple, Philip and Carrie. They're Scottish, it's great. um, they're all teaching people who are kind of like natural psychics and mediums how to better tap into that because I really need that because mine's so haywire. It's crazy. And I want better control of it, and I want to be able to use it to help people. Um, and one of the things that they had said is one of your lessons is like when you're trying to read people, you're not looking with your eyes. You are trying to, how did they say it? You are trying to read their essence around them because inside your aura is all the thoughts you've ever thought, all the experiences you've ever had, and you are just trying to get into that without being intrusive. Does that make sense? Does that kind of look up?
Yeah, I understand what you mean, because
It's really hard to say.
it's hard to explain, but like, I've, I guess, dealt with enough
Hmm.
quote unquote psychics to
Yeah.
kind of be like,
It's
I understand what you mean.
Yeah, and for me, it's like it goes back to therapy because, like, I can use all sorts of different approaches. It's like, okay, you're saying this, but with what you all everything that you said leading up to that, I'm thinking it's over here, and it's kind of like it's not my job to like tell you this because that could fuck up your experience. And psychology and spirituality are so fucking linked. They're the goddamn same side of the coin. Two different sides of the same fucking coin. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, like, I totally agree with that too, and it's just, I feel like there's such a divide on that coin too, though, where like, there's the people who are really into psychology who kind of have a disregard for a lot of spirituality, and they're the
They
people who are
do.
like super hardcore into spirituality, and they have a disregard for any like sciences, and that, where it's like, oh, everything is just divine and divine energy and divine information, everything else is just bullshit. And it's like, well, I mean, essentially, like, psychology is still divine information. It's
It
just,
is.
it's not, someone sat there and wrote a book and claimed that they had this major download, that they had all this universal information shared with them that they had to bring to the world to help raise the Earth's vibration and let everybody heal.
Oh my. I don't know. I mean, you can say that about anything. Like
Love and light.
fuck, love and light. I have a shadow side that I'm actually really getting into and enjoying. So I know I'm that bitch. Like, and you know what? I don't know what to say to that. But I'm learning. But like, yeah, the whole love and light shit, there's a whole aspect of yourself that you're fucking neglecting. And that's kind of where your power lies. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I say this on my Instagram a lot. Like, it drives me insane how there's this huge battle between the medical and the spiritual community. It's like, well, what if you, I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but like, once again, it's two sides of the same coin. Work together, read each other's research, gain information, become that much more powerful. Like, become a more well-rounded person instead of just circling around and talking up your own, you know, shit and getting that confirmation bias. You're not learning anything. You're just parroting each other and getting high off of it, thinking that you're so fucking enlightened.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a control aspect with that too, especially with like the pharmaceutical industry, and not to
Yes.
sound like a conspiracy theorist,
Oh no, no.
but
We fucking hate pharmacracy. We talk about that in social work all the time. Like,
yeah,
it's out of control.
and there's this disregard for natural medicines because if people um don't become aware of like more natural medicines to take, and like I don't mean so much even the whole like curing diseases with it, but even beyond the fact that like if you fall and get injured in the woods, would it
Yeah,
not be smarter to be able to know like what plants you can use to either ease your pain or patch up your
sure.
wounds or stop the bleeding versus having to call 911 and having a helicopter fly down to come get you and take you to the hospital
Exactly.
and getting drugged up?
For sure.
Um, so like I think there's a balance there. Like I think everything has its place.
Everything needs to have a balance.
And you know, I don't see anything wrong with learning about more kind of holistic methods to deal with things because you know, we've become a society where we become very reliant on other people kind of saving us in a way. So like if you get sick or you get hurt, it's, you know, go to this facility and they'll patch you up. Like there's really I feel personally there's like a lack of independence there where it's like you can't think that you can take care of yourself.
Mhm.
And like I'm maybe too far opposite of that where like unless I'm broken 6 ways from Sunday or bleeding to death, I won't go into a doctor's office. Like I just kind of trust my intuition and do what I need to do to heal myself when I'm sick and hurt. um and I mean I'm still here, I'm doing okay, so it can't, I'm not saying I'm right for doing things the way I do them, but I can't be totally wrong either.
Like, for wanting to be a therapist and stuff like that, I'm really not on board with the term mental illness because it makes it sound like, if you have the flu, all you have to do is like, drink some noodle soup and relax, watch some Netflix, and wait for your body to naturally heal. That's not the case when you have moderate to severe depression, bipolar, personality disorder. Like, that's not what you need to do. You have to do a lot of healing and maintenance, being able to manage your moods, manage your perceptions, alter your ways of thinking and coming to conclusions. It's not a passive thing that you can do. It is intense, deep work and consistency. And it just drives me bonkers how the pharmacracy wants you to just take a pill because that's what your insurance will cover, but not the therapy, the tools that will actually help you to become empowered and not have to come see us forever. I mean, yeah, it's going to take a while, but do the homework assignments, do the deep gutting. It is difficult, but it is so worth it. Like, you're slapping on a band-aid with medication. Mind you, I take medication. I take a lower dosage than what I used to because I've done the work. And that's what works for me. Now, everybody's different. I do believe that people can use medication, but do the therapy. Do the therapy. Like, I'm not here to completely bash it, but yeah, I definitely do not like the pharmacracy that we have going on here.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Like, I struggle with the whole concept of mental illness, and I feel like there's a grouping where they treat it as if being depressed and depression are the same thing, and they're not.
Mm-mm.
Because depression can be a chemical imbalance. It can be something, the medication's just a tool. It shouldn't be looked at as a solution. It's a tool to
Yeah,
help you. Um, it's not a solution, and I don't like how it's probably the same in the States as it is here over in Canada, but like you go into a doctor's office and you tell them, you're feeling down and that, and they write you a script
and
and
they don't have a they don't have a psychology degree. They are an MD.
no, they don't. I got antidepressants from a walking clinic from
Oh,
a dude that I met once. He should not have been allowed to write scripts for antidepressants.
I'm anti.
Um, but it's like you go in and they treat it as if it's something you should have for the rest of your life. And some people do need it
Yeah,
because of chemical imbalances, like people with severe schizophrenia. There's probably no chance that they're going to be totally fine without taking medication every day.
unfortunately, they won't. It's kind of
And
like Alzheimer's. It'll eat the brain away.
that's fine, but for people who just they get down and they're unhappy and they're sad all the time,
Hmm.
um that shouldn't be medication shouldn't be looked at as a solution for feeling down. Like if something in the brain needs to be balanced out, um that's what the medication's for. It's a tool for that. And it's this whole concept of like just keep going towards the light. And the problem with that is, and this comes up a lot in the spiritual community too, is the closer you get to the sun, the bigger the shadow behind you gets.
Hmm.
And if you don't turn around and face that shadow at some point, it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and
Yeah.
it's going to swallow you. And people, it's uncomfortable doing shadow work.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
dealing with aspects of yourself that you're not comfortable with. Um, and it's a lot of work. And like for myself, like I was severely depressed for years. I was never medicated. I never really got taken into like doctors about it or anything. Um, and I just reached a point where when I started turning my life around, and I know like I struggle with people who really go like it's so hard and blah blah blah. It is, but like you need to force yourself to put in the effort. So like for me, it was making sure that I got up every morning at a half decent time,
Hmm.
making myself go outside, making myself go out in
Routines.
public, getting a routine, and going to bed at a decent time and not eating like shit all the time.
Hmm.
And I think people get discouraged because they try it for a day or two or
Hmm.
even a week and it doesn't help. No, like it took months and months
Yeah.
of doing that every single day and dedicating myself to doing that to help myself get out of that rut that I had been in for like 18 years at that point.
Hmm.
Um,
It's
and
hard, but
it it
you can
is.
do it, and I believe in people.
And like you reach a crossroads with depression where either you can keep making up excuses for yourself or you can start holding yourself accountable and not.
Reasons why I deserve to get out of bed. Like, it's, like flipping
Yeah.
that, I have to do this. It's like, I get to do this. Like, and just little by little reframing how we talk to ourselves about our obligations.
And yeah, and um god, what was that thought I just had?
I don't know, but I have something I want to say about like the pharmacracy and like how something like that, but only if you can't remember what you were saying.
I was just gonna, oh yeah, it was just that like just because something is hard, just because it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of willpower, doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. And I kind of view it as like every day is a new opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And in some way, because like we said earlier, we all have growth to do, it's a
Mm-hmm.
continuous thing. And every day is a new opportunity. You don't have to take the opportunity every day, but it is there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about being patient with yourself and doing it at your own pace. And, um, when you feel like you're in that space to take the opportunity when it's presented to you, it's important to not let your negative thoughts and your kind of negative thought patterns stop you from taking that opportunity to make a change, even if it's small, even if it is getting up and going outside
Mm-hmm.
or eating something better or going for a jog or whatever it is. Like, if you feel motivated to do it, don't discourage yourself from doing it and talking yourself out of it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Anyways, what were you going to say?
Like, okay, so then when we're talking about accountability, I want to express how much it's important to hold ourselves accountable, but also the fucking system that we have in place. Because a lot of chemical imbalances are because of how the system is. And that is what people will not tell you. Like a lot of people who are experiencing poverty, behavioral health issues, I'd prefer to say that, over mental illness. Um, discrimination, that's going to affect and alter your brain chemicals. And that can happen over generations. It's hereditary. Um, but it drives me bonks how, like, people want to feed you medication, pointing the finger at you, and they always want to say it's a chemical imbalance. Well, I wouldn't have this fucking chemical imbalance if the system would be held accountable. Stop pointing the finger, everybody pointing down at you, thinking that it's your fault. And, not only, like I said, it goes back to holding ourselves accountable, but also the fucking system and the powers that be. Fuck shit up. Like, no, they are just as much, if not more so, responsible for this shithole that we are in with the pharmacracy and everything like that, and the way that things are.
And yeah, and like in my mind, it just comes a lot back to that control because, like,
Yes.
even for me, like, as much as I'd love to believe that governments have our best interest in mind, I
Hmm.
know that they don't. And
Yeah.
even our food supply is proof of that.
Hmm.
Because why is it legal? Why is it okay for our food to be so processed and so filled with chemicals?
Yeah. Is your shit banned? Is a lot of your food banned in Canada as it is here in the States? Because a lot of the food that we fucking eat here is banned in Europe.
Yeah, it's not as bad
Hmm.
over here, but it's far from
Good.
perfect. Like, we don't, yeah, like there's not, there's not arsenic in the apple juice here.
Right?
But no, like the fast food industry though here is it's disgusting. And like a lot of there's kind of loopholes with things, like nothing is really banned. So like for things like 7-Eleven as an example, being an
Mhm.
American corporation that's in Canada, a lot of their products come from the United States still.
Huh.
So like you can buy some of that food here that is, probably going to kill you if you eat too
Yep.
much of it from the States.
Fucking carcinogenic as shit.
And yeah, and like even the town where I grew up, it still is very industrial. And there was, it never really got totally public, but they did this study based on certain neighborhoods that were in areas where the groundwater had been infected by the industrial plants, and
Yeah.
there were just high rates of cancer
Yeah.
because it's very, um, like where I grew up is very good for growing food.
Hmm.
A lot of our Canadian produce comes from the province that I grew up in. And so people grow their own food because it's warm most of the year. Um, and like basically, there's certain neighborhoods in the city where like there's just insanely high rates of cancer because people grow their own fruits and vegetables and the chemicals are getting into them and they're getting cancer, but they're not realizing it, right? Like it seems pretty
Well,
innocent to go out in your yard and just grow your own food. Like people, like people there don't think of that when they're doing that.
I can't speak for Canada, but in the US, at least, um, predominantly black and brown neighborhoods have a higher rate of pollution, which affects basically everything because, we are animals and we are affected by our environments, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, everything like that. And also near Indian reservations, there is a completely disproportionate amount of toxic waste dump sites near those areas, the reservations and the black and brown neighborhoods. And it just fucking drives me insane. I did like a 10-page paper on environmental racism, and it is so fucking disgusting. And so I don't know how I was tying that into that, but yeah, so like even though I'm in the Midwest, um, which is largely farming, cattle, um, you know, stuff like that. We have a lot of crops here. I live in the city though, so I'd like to think it's healthier. Who knows though? It's anybody's guess. Um, I don't know. Like basically everybody's getting poisoned, but different populations are we're not being equally poisoned. I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. And like one of the things I find kind of fucked about Canada though is like we don't have resources to handle a lot of our waste. And we
Hmm.
try to send it to foreign countries. Um,
Yeah, we do too. We said it to China. China's pissed at us.
yeah, China actually they banned
Yeah.
back in like 2016 or 2017. I was working at like a recycling facility,
Oh,
and
I know exactly where you're going with this.
yeah, like, and it wasn't a recycling facility. We just took the garbage and we packaged it up all nice and we put it on
Yeah,
trucks to send it overseas.
yeah.
Um,
An
because
environmentalist, that breaks my fucking heart that like I can't do it right. Like
yeah, but the thing is, like, it's a balance because that we can't figure out how to maintain because there isn't really a right way to do it to some degree because the reason why we do all of our recycling processes in foreign countries is because it's more polluting to recycle stuff than what it is to cut down new materials. So like basically it's actually better to chop down more trees than to recycle paper and cardboard.
I'm going to strongly disagree with you on that because we don't need to cut down more trees. We need to grow hemp. And
Well, that's another option,
if
yes.
there is one thing that I'm glad that Trump has done is that he legalized the growing of hemp. I hope you can grow it fucking anywhere because oh my God, we just need to stop fucking cutting down trees. Let them grow and use hemp for everything. It is efficient for everything.
Well, and that's it too. It's a lot of coming up with better materials and
And we have
even
the resources for free energy, but the government don't want you to know that. I listened to my mom's got me into this because she's big into aliens, but it also goes back to free energy. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. It's what is his name? He's an MD. He worked in an emergency room for God knows how long. Richard Greer. Richard Greer. Greer. Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer. Richard Dolan was who I was thinking of, but Stephen Greer, a motherfucker knows some shit.
Well, and
Sorry, there's
it's true though. Yeah, I was just gonna say that like um we don't come up with better ways to do things because there's industries that
mhm.
are heavily supported with funding for governments,
Yes.
like the plastic industry, and they there's so much money that goes through that, and it's just totally outweighs the concern for changing anything. Um, and like disposable, like single use plastics, like it's absolutely insane kind of the whole process that goes through with that, because I don't know, it just it's so wasteful, and they try to make it, they sugarcoat it to try and make it seem like it's okay, but it's really not. So I guess to kind of wrap things up here, because we are getting to the end of our time.
Mhm.
This does go quick though.
It
Yeah.
does.
Any kind of final thoughts for today?
Oh my God. I don't know where to begin. We've talked about everything.
9 hours from now.
I don't know. Shrooms are amazing. Hopefully next time I'll have a better trip. Um,
Yeah, get a scale that works and take more next time.
I really need to research, just research. And I don't mean by Karen on YouTube. Um, because there's reputable resources out there and journals that better refute stuff if you want. But I don't know. I don't know. Does that make any sense whatsoever?
Yeah, like I struggle with the whole research thing, because especially the conspiracy theory community, they're really big on do the research.
Which is YouTube and not.
You know, internet articles about things from unreliable sources, and
Yes.
it's like basically it's a fine line, because if you have an idea in your head that you want to prove is right, if you do the research to prove to yourself that it's right, you're going to find the proof to back it up, and you're not going to accept anything else other than what agrees with what you believe to be right.
Yeah, your cognitive bias and confirmation bias. It you have to go outside of your bubble.
Yeah, exactly. So, find reliable resources, and just be aware of all the possibilities for things, because I don't really believe that anything is really any one way.
Hmm.
I think everything can be variable to some degree.
Exactly. I'm the same way. I try not to believe anything 100% just because the fuck
Because
would we know?
nothing is certain.
Exactly. Like, yeah,
It's
that's basically.
all a mystery. We're all just here. We're all just connecting with each other and discovering things, and it's just um, to be very blunt about it, we all just kind of need to get our heads out of our asses sometimes, and uh, just be open and accepting of things being the way that they are, and letting things just be.
Exactly. Well said, sir.
Well, anyways, this has been wonderful chatting with you.
It has. Thank you for having me.
No problem. I hope we'll do it again sometime.
Oh, we will. I'm for sure.
Alrighty.
Alrighty. Ta ta.
Ta ta. Have a lovely evening.